Yo, what's up everyone? My name is Andrew Warren, and I hope you're having a great Memorial Day today. Today is a Monday, just for the record, for those that are watching the video. First day of the week, there's no market hours, but by the way, I do just want to say thank you to everyone who has serviced their country. I mean, if it wasn't for those people, then we may not be having the freedoms that we have right now with the stock market. If you really think about it, the stock market is just one of the fairest things in the world because it gives pretty much anyone that has internet access and a little bit of accessible money on the side, it gives anyone the chance to make some money. And it all just depends on if you do your research, if you make the right plays, if you have patience. So especially emphasizing today with it being Memorial Day and stuff like that, if it wasn't for those people that sacrificed for us here, then we may not even have the opportunity to be investing right now. We may not even have this pleasure. And I might not have even been making these videos either. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that has serviced out there, and my condolences, of course, for those that have sacrificed everything. But back onto the stock market today, I'm just going to be talking about the moves that I'm going to be making for the rest of this week so far. Like I said, today is a Monday, and then we have Tuesday starting tomorrow. Normal market day, once again, everything is back to normal. And then, of course, we end the week off on Friday with it being a market day as well. So basically, we have the typical normal week, except for today, which is Monday, we don't have a market day. So it's just like a holiday where the market isn't going on. But back onto the main topic. By the way, if you do enjoy these videos of just me being fully transparent and telling you all the moves that I'm going to be making, the stocks that I have purchased, the stocks that I have sold, if you appreciate videos like these, please make sure to drop a like on the video, smash that like button. It really does help me out so much more than you know. And for another thing, it's just straight up motivating to see people liking my video and see a good like to viewer ratio on a video that I created. So it's definitely motivating, and it also helps me get recommended to newer viewers as well. We are growing this community super fast right now. I think we are almost at about 2,000 subscribers. I think we're at like 1,979 right now. So we have been growing this channel so much lately. I think we're gaining like 40 to 50 a day, which is absolutely insane considering that growth started with me only having like 1,500 subscribers. But back onto the main topic, we're going to be discussing some stocks that I will be purchasing this week. As you can see, the cash is ready, baby. I have the cash on the sidelines, ready to dive in on a stock if I see an opportunity. And as you can see right here, we have sort of a risky 3-stock portfolio, super simplified, but I will admit there are some huge popular investors out there. I'm talking famous people that grew a lot of wealth from holding 3 to 5 stocks. And keep in mind, there's also the saying that goes, if you want to accumulate wealth, don't diversify and pick a small range of stocks. And then also there's the other one, if you want to maintain wealth, then diversify. So my goal with this portfolio right here, for one thing, I want to grow a lot of this simply from my investment. I'm looking for more than your average 10% return every year on a stock. I'm looking for those growth stocks out there, and I've pretty much handpicked these stocks. Microsoft, Tesla, Apple. Apple has performed extremely well for me so far. Microsoft has performed extremely well for me so far. And then Tesla, I've been buying a lot into this stock lately. I had a few shares that I bought near all-time highs, and then of course I've been buying a lot near the 800 price range. I bought, I think, 2 shares near the $600 range, and then I bought 1 share at $364, which I then sold at a price of $420. I totally regret that. I do not like thinking back on that because I wish I would have held. My recommendation, don't try to short Tesla stock. At least with my experience, I've had a bad experience trying to do that. And for one thing, Tesla is a good company. Tesla is a good stock. And of course, I'm not a big fan of shorting regardless. I'm more of like the typical buy and hold long-term investor. And just to admit another recent play as well, if you're not familiar with the channel, I recently got this cash because I had $32,000 invested in VOO stock, which this is one of those stocks that wasn't really a growth stock. It was like more towards that diversification that I was talking about. As you can see, at the recent peak on February 14th before the crash, it was up about 60%, but on average, VOO gets about a 10% growth rate every year. But back onto that topic of accumulating wealth versus maintaining wealth, keep in mind that is not a set-in-stone statement. Someone could easily not diversify their stocks and have a bunch of bad choices, like 3 or 4 stocks that all of their money is put into, but if they're bad choices, then there's no accumulation happening whatsoever. Like, for example, if someone had 3 stocks and all of them consisted of airline stocks and they held it for like the past 5 years up until this crash, if they only had 3 stocks and they were all like airline stocks in which one of them was Delta Airlines, they would be totally in the negative right now. Because for one thing, I think it would have been easy to see this happen in the future regardless, because I don't think Delta Airlines is a growth stock. I mean, even at its most recent peak, it was at a 35.65% gain. So in my opinion, if a stock doesn't even reach that typical 10% growth per year as part of that normal stock market index, then it's definitely not a growth stock. When I'm looking for growth stocks, I'm looking at like 30 to 50% per year in growth. So keep in mind that statement on accumulating wealth versus maintaining wealth and diversifying versus not diversifying, that is not set in stone. It's just a quote that I remember that I do think about in reference to my situation currently. And also keep in mind that me holding about $60,000 in stocks right now, aside from the cash here, which equals about 77, it is very risky to hold only 3 stocks and have the majority of your net worth be in these 3 stocks. So I definitely don't recommend anyone try to do what I'm doing right now. For one thing, I'm being fully transparent with you all. You all get to see whether I fail or succeed in this effort right here and with these handpicked stocks that I've chosen. And just one more quote that I've heard previously that does reference to my situation currently as well. There's also the statement that diversification is simply to defend someone against their own ignorance. So if we go back onto that example where, let's say, someone only has 3 stocks and they were all airline stocks and we had this most recent crash, that would technically be their ignorance that diversifying would defend against. So the typical recommendation, or what someone would say, would be to buy an index fund or something like VOO, which pretty much balances out the whole stock market. It mirrors the general stock market trend. So you do have that normal stock market growth as a side aspect to some of your other investments that you may make an ignorant mistake on, where you could potentially lose money, like the Delta Airlines investment. So diversification is usually to help defend against that or offset that mistake. However, in my opinion, when you have truly done your research and you truly believe in the stocks that you have picked, at least in my situation, I think it's worth me going for, because I have a lot of faith in Microsoft. I have a lot of faith in Tesla, although I realize it's my riskiest stock. And then with Apple, I have a lot of faith with it as well, even if it is considered overvalued. For one thing, Apple has been considered overvalued for like a year or 2 now. I think analysts need to just simply update their expectations, because AirPods have been a huge wave in the industry that pretty much started a whole movement. Everybody copied the Apple AirPods, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. We have more affordable iPhones coming out soon. We have a great iPhone that recently came out last year, the iPhone 11 Pro. But on to the main topic of my moves that I'm going to be making this week, the plays that I'm going to be making. For one thing, I'll tell you exactly what stocks I'm looking at in terms of purchasing. And for another thing, by the way, the moves that I'm making this week are mainly going to be focused and revolved around Tesla and Microsoft stock. I'm really not even looking for a new stock to add to this portfolio. Honestly, I plan on keeping my main holdings at a 3 stock range. So these 2 that you see right here are simply free stocks. So in my whole portfolio, my wealth is concentrated in just 3 stocks, with the majority of it being in Microsoft, and then of course the next highest amount being in Tesla, and then of course the highest amount after that being Apple. You know what? I'll just show you my full equity just to be fully transparent with this right here. So about 33K in Microsoft, about 15,500 in Tesla, and about 13,400 in Apple. So as I mentioned, my main focus is going to be on Microsoft and Tesla, mainly Microsoft, but also a big focus will be on Tesla as well. For example, I think that regardless of what happens, I will most likely be purchasing some Microsoft stock this week. Honestly, if tomorrow starts out negative, it's going to be a great day for me, because that means I'm going to have opportunities to purchase Microsoft and Tesla stock at a cheaper price when I was pretty much planning to purchase them anyways. Keep in mind though that I do plan to have some cash on the sidelines in case this all goes sideways, so I may be a little bit reserved on my purchases. For example, if Tesla stock goes way up to like $870 tomorrow, I most likely won't purchase it at that high of a price. But I have noticed with Tesla stock recently, when there is a drop, it almost always spikes back up. When there's a drop, it almost basically tells you that it will certainly be going up in the future. And don't take that as a fact. That's just what I am getting from the charts right here. As you can see on April 23rd, it hit a low point, it dropped, and then of course ever since then it went all the way up to this peak on April 30th. We had a drop once again, and then of course it pretty much went even more up on May 12th. It went all the way up here. And then of course we had a drop again on May 13th, and then it goes up once again on May 22nd. So I'm seeing a pattern of, if there's a drop day on Tesla, if it's a red day where the share price goes down in value, it's looking like a good opportunity for me to make a purchase, because I feel like that's going to be one of the cheapest opportunities that I will get to purchase the stock, at least in the near future, considering that the charts seem to be going up every time after a drop. I seem to be finding a pattern right here. Obviously, these patterns are never accurate. They're never consistent. They're never something that you can truly rely on, but it does seem to be a little bit consistent if I look at the past months worth of growth. And it even happened since the drop right here. We have it going up, and of course it drops, and then it goes up even more. It drops, goes up, drops, goes up even more, drops, goes up even more, drops, goes up even more, drops, goes up, pretty much to that same level. So we are seeing some similar patterns that are kind of like showing a little bit of consistency. So if tomorrow is a red day, which if we go along with this pattern, it seems like Tuesday may not be a red day for Tesla, since we had a red day on Friday. So if tomorrow is a red day for Tesla, I'm definitely purchasing some shares for sure. I just don't know how many just yet. And then also focusing back on Microsoft stock, regardless of whether it's a red day or a green day for Microsoft, I will most likely be purchasing some. I think I'll at least spend $1,000 on Microsoft stock regardless. I would honestly like to see a red day for Microsoft just so I can get it a little bit cheaper. I mean, I would love to get this in like the 177 range. That way I have a little bit of a buffer time if there is a huge drop in the future. At least I gain like a percentage or two if I can get this at like 177 like it was at previously. Yeah, as you can see right here, it was at like 174 previously, and then it went up a little bit. But Microsoft has the potential to hit 185 very, very soon, in my opinion. So regardless, anything under 185 I feel like is a good deal. And truthfully, anything under 196, which is the fair value, I feel like is an amazing deal. And for another thing, regardless of what time you purchase Microsoft at, I feel like it's one of those companies, one of those stocks that is going to keep compounding by about a 20 to 50% growth rate every single year for the upcoming next few years at least. So I feel like with the opportunity of buying Microsoft stock at under $200, I think it's definitely going to grow very fast and much farther out past that in the future. So it gives me a good chance to purchase Microsoft in an early stage, where I think I could eventually see Microsoft being worth 5 times what it is currently right now. And I think that's definitely an opportunity with this stock. But I'm also looking at this super, super long term. I'm talking about the next 40 years and maybe selling when I'm 60 or 70. So I'm in Microsoft with the super long term. In my opinion, this is one of the safest companies out there. If you're going to invest in an individual stock in comparison to something like an ETF or an index fund, I think that Microsoft is one of the safest options out there that you can invest in when it comes to an individual company or an individual stock. For one thing, if you look at the earnings estimates, they beat earnings consistently every single time on this chart if you take a look at it. Another thing, they provide dividends. They have a good business model. They have very consistent growth. But anyways, I just wanted to share my thoughts on some moves that I'll be making in this upcoming week. For one thing, I'm looking to buy a decent amount of Tesla stock, at least about $2,000. Another thing, I'm looking to buy at least about $2,000 in Microsoft stock, most likely. And to be truthful, I may end up spending even more than this on these stocks. But for right now, I'm not really looking at Apple stock. I think it is a little bit too high. I mean, you could say the same thing about Tesla, but I have a good visual plan on where I think Tesla is going in terms of growth in the future, where Apple seems a little bit more uncertain, although I am confident that Apple will still maintain itself as a company at the top for the next many years and on. So I have no worries about Apple. I think it's a great company, but Microsoft and Tesla are the real opportunities that I'm looking for right now. In terms of just simply being undervalued, Microsoft is definitely the better option. I mean, logical thinking would probably point to me purchasing more Microsoft stock because it is undervalued compared to Tesla. But honestly, I feel like the fair value estimations don't really apply realistically with Tesla because there's so much growth potential. And Tesla is a speculative stock, but I feel like there's so much potential with it to where you could this could easily be a $5,000 stock in just a few years, in my opinion. And I know that seems crazy, but definitely think about it. Do your research on Tesla, watch some documentaries, learn more about their plan for the future and their current growth right now and how they're building all of these gigafactories, doing all of this battery research and operating operating on declining cost curves. They're in the lead of developing the full self-driving AI software. For one thing, they have the CEO known as Elon Musk. There's just so many great aspects of Tesla where I feel like there is a premium with this stock, but I think there's always going to be a premium from now on when you have a stock like this. And if there is a crash that happens in the future, it doesn't mean Tesla is going to take a big hit. It means pretty much every stock in the stock market is going to take a big hit. So that's always going to be a threat. And the way that I combat a stock market crash is simply buying at a lower cost. It means you get a better deal. And that's exactly what I did with Microsoft. And that's why I'm so far ahead right now with the $2,300 gain. This was actually at about 11.5% gain, but I recently added about, I think I added about $10,000, no, $12,000 into Microsoft stock. So that's why the percentage gain decreased, since I added $12,000 into this to equal now at about a $33,000 value. But anyways, I just wanted to share my plans and my moves for the market in this upcoming week right here. As always, anything that I say in this video or have said already is not to be considered financial advice. It is simply just me sharing my thoughts and opinions about the market, the things that I've been thinking of lately, and of course the moves that I'm making. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. Please make sure to smash that like button. And if you would like to begin investing, feel free to use my referral link to Robinhood and Webull. I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. Stay safe out there.